If you've ever had a Jehovah's Witness come to your door, you probably noticed something. They're always calm, friendly, polite. Their voice is gentle. Their words feel prepared. Their body language is coordinated. Ever wondered why it feels so rehearsed? Is it just their personality? Or is there a system behind it? What if I told you that every smile, every phrase, and every silence is part of a larger strategy? But here's where it gets strange. The moment the same organization is summoned to court to answer real questions under oath, the tone changes. Suddenly, the friendly tone disappears. The answers become legalistic, defensive, sometimes even evasive. Why? Why would an organization that claims to represent the truth say one thing at your door and another inside a courtroom? Now, I want to make something clear from the very beginning. This video is not an attack on individuals. It's not about mocking someone's faith or judging their sincerity. Many Jehovah's Witnesses are kind, sincere people who truly believe they're serving God. This is not about them. It's about what they're not allowed to say, and what their leaders avoid whenever the cameras are off and the doors are closed. Before we dive into the 4 shocking things Jehovah's Witnesses say in court, but never at your door, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now, what you're about to see isn't theory. It's not opinion. These are legal statements, courtroom admissions, and official transcripts. Moments when the organization's public image clashed with legal reality, and for a brief moment, the truth peeked through the cracks. Let's take a closer look at what Jehovah's Witnesses actually say when they're not standing at your doorstep, but under oath. 1. We're not the only true religion. When Jehovah's Witnesses come to your door, one of the first things you'll notice is their quiet certainty. They don't just believe in God, they believe they are the only ones who truly represent Him. They teach that all other religions are part of Babylon the Great, a system of false worship that will soon be destroyed. To them, salvation is only possible through their organization, under the direction of the governing body. There's no room for alternatives. No room for honest disagreement. It's presented as the truth, or nothing. But behind closed doors, in legal settings, that confidence fades. In multiple court cases, especially those involving religious discrimination, child custody, or accountability, the Watchtower's attorneys have made a different claim. They say Jehovah's Witnesses are just one voice among many, and that people are free to leave, reject, or disagree without consequence. In fact, they've argued in court that their religion holds no exclusive claim to truth, and should not be viewed as coercive or absolute. Why the double standard? Why speak one way to potential converts, and another to the court? The answer is strategy. If they admitted in court that their teachings are exclusive and their structure is authoritarian, they could be held liable for spiritual abuse, family separation, or mental harm. So instead, they frame themselves as just another religious group offering harmless suggestions. But that's not how they present themselves when they're preaching. And deep down, every faithful Jehovah's Witness knows it. Jesus never encouraged this kind of duplicity. He said, "Let your yes be yes, and your no, no, for whatever is more than these is from the evil one." Matthew 5 verse 37. Truth doesn't need legal loopholes. It stands on its own, regardless of the audience. So if a religious group must hide its true claims when under oath, maybe it's time to ask, is that really the truth? 2. Our rules are just internal guidelines. Publicly, the Jehovah's Witness organization presents its teachings as non-negotiable commands from God. Members are expected to obey strict rules about blood transfusions, holidays, political neutrality, education, and even personal relationships. These aren't framed as suggestions. They're portrayed as divine mandates, enforced by local elders and backed by the authority of the governing body. Failing to comply can result in public reproof, loss of privileges, or even disfellowshipping, total social and spiritual isolation. But when the organization is taken to court, especially in cases involving civil rights, medical autonomy, or parental alienation, the tone suddenly shifts. In legal defense, Watchtower attorneys describe these rules as voluntary guidelines, claiming no one is ever forced to follow them. They argue that members choose their lifestyle freely and that any consequences are simply social, not spiritual. Yet anyone who has left the organization knows better. The social consequences often mean losing your entire family, community, and identity overnight. This is a familiar tactic: doctrinal language in public, legal language in court. It allows the leadership to maintain absolute control while avoiding accountability. To the outside world, they downplay their authority. But inside the walls of the Kingdom Hall, obedience isn't optional, it's expected. And fear is the tool that keeps everyone in line. But God's truth doesn't rely on fear. The Apostle Paul wrote, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." Galatians 5 verse 1. A system that demands absolute obedience while denying responsibility under oath isn't a path to God. It's spiritual manipulation wearing a suit. 3. We're not responsible for what happens locally. By the way, have you hit the like button yet? If you're still watching, it means this content matters to you. So take a second to give it a thumbs up. It really helps spread this information to others who need to see it. Now let's get into the next disturbing detail. In countless legal battles, especially those involving abuse, mishandling of serious allegations, or elder misconduct, the Watchtower organization has tried to distance itself from the local congregations. Their legal team often argues that the governing body has no direct control over what individual elders do, claiming that each Kingdom Hall operates independently. But internally, Jehovah's Witnesses are taught the opposite. Elders receive step-by-step instructions from headquarters, including how to handle sensitive matters. Nothing major is decided locally without approval from the top. So which one is true? Are elders independent spiritual shepherds, or agents of a centralized authority? The truth is, you can't have it both ways. Either the governing body exerts control and accepts responsibility, or it steps back and stops issuing commands. But the idea that they control everything when convenient and then deny responsibility under oath, that's not truth, that's strategy. 4. Disfellowshipping isn't coercion. Few things are more painful for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses than disfellowshipping. It's not just a removal from the congregation. It often means being completely shunned by your own family, including parents, children, and lifelong friends. Inside the organization, members are taught that shunning is an act of loyalty to God. Speaking to a disfellowshipped person is framed as disobedience, even rebellion. The emotional pressure is intense, and for many, the isolation is devastating. But when Watchtower is taken to court over this practice, especially in cases involving emotional harm or family division, their legal position shifts. Suddenly, disfellowshipping is no longer described as spiritual discipline, but simply as a personal religious decision made by individual members. They argue that there's no coercion, no pressure, that family members are free to associate with whomever they want. It's a convenient defense. But it directly contradicts what is taught behind closed doors at kingdom halls around the world. Jesus warned about systems like this. He said, "They bind heavy burdens, hard to bear, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers." Matthew 23 verse 4. When an organization enforces spiritual punishment through fear, then denies that punishment exists in court, it reveals something deeper than just hypocrisy. It reveals control disguised as holiness, and silence masquerading as peace. So what do we do with all of this? When a religious organization speaks one way to potential converts, and a completely different way under oath, it's not just a legal issue, it's a spiritual one. Truth doesn't need two faces. And the gospel of Jesus was never built on silence, secrecy, or legal loopholes. Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." If something has to hide or twist itself to survive the courtroom, maybe it's not standing on truth at all. Now I want to hear from you. Did anything in this video surprise you? Have you ever experienced this kind of double standard firsthand, either inside or outside the organization? Let me know in the comments. I read every one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time, we're just getting started.